Artists, today we are going to make a sculpture using line. We are going to create a sculpture because a sculpture is different than a drawing. A drawing is something that's flat. Right now, this black piece of paper and these colored strips of paper are flat to the paper, so they are two-dimensional. A sculpture is something that pops out of the paper or is three-dimensional. So we are going to create something that is three-dimensional. We are going to create a sculpture using line. And our line for this sculpture is going to be these different colored strips of paper. The ground or the base of our sculpture is going to be the black paper, and our lines, these colored paper, are going to be added to our ground to create three-dimensional designs and shapes. So the very first shape that we're going to do with line is just going to be a simple over-the-hill line. But the very first thing that we need to do is we need to give our strip of paper feet. It doesn't matter what color you start with, but I want you to just fold one side of the paper up on each end. So I'm folding up on each end. Okay, this is what we're going to use for gluing. We are going to be putting glue on the bottom of our feet. This almost looks like a pair of legs, these feet on the bottom. We are going to put glue right on the bottom of their feet because we want these to be stuck somewhere on our paper. If we put glue on top, it's just going to flatten it again, and we don't want something flat. We want something that is three-dimensional that pops out. So the glue needs to go on the bottom of our feet. And we know that we don't need a lot of glue, not a lot. But on this sculpture, we are only going to do one small dot of glue. That's plenty of glue. And we can put it anywhere on our base. And the tricky thing is that we need this glue to bond, so we need to really press and hold for at least 10 seconds. And we're not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're counting slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That should be plenty of time for that glue to bond. Now I can put my over-the-hill line anywhere on my paper. If I want it wide, I can go wide. If I want it skinny, I can go skinny. But I need to make sure that I put glue on the bottom of my foot. Just one little dot is plenty. And then remember, 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I have added one over-the-hill line on top of my base to form my sculpture. Now I'm ready for my next line, and I'm going to use orange for my next line. So I have to start the same way. I need to fold over two little feet, one on each side, so both of my feet. And I can overlap my lines. So my next line that I'm going to do is almost kind of flipped. So my foot on the back here is going to have to get flipped backwards. But you can see that it almost can be more of a turn or a curly cue. I can do this either way. I can even fold it this way. I just want to almost make a bend or a fold in the ribbon. Okay, this can be added right flat on my base, or I can overlap, which means I could start under here, and then I could flip my paper over like a ribbon, and I could glue the other side here. I really like the way that that overlaps, so I think I'm going to do that. So I just need one little dot of glue, and remember, 10 seconds, so I'm going under to overlap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I can rotate my paper a bit to help me give that curved shape. And then I can glue this foot down. So once this one has been held for 10 seconds, I can come around, one little dot of glue, and 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now if your paper starts coming up like mine did, you just have to hold it for a few more seconds. So if any of your feet start popping up, they just need to be held down a little bit longer. There. So now I have two lines. One is more of a curve and one is more of an over the hill line. The next line that I'm going to do is almost going to look like a roller coaster when it's done. If you can see the way that it almost makes a loop-de-loop. The same thing has to happen though. I need to put glue on the bottom of the foot. So I've started with a foot here, and if I practice my loop-de-loop, I'll see that this foot is going to kind of be backwards. So I'm going to find a good place to put my loop. I might want to put it over here. And I'm going to put a little dot of glue on the bottom of each foot before I glue it down. So I'm going to take a minute, pause the video, and do that here. The next line that I'm going to create is going to look like a triangle. So I'm actually going to take my strip of paper and I'm going to fold it in half before I add my feet. So this is going to create a triangle shape. So when I glue this down, it's going to look like a triangle. And once again, think about where you could maybe overlap some of your strips. Remember, if you overlap, it's going to create a piece that's a little more exciting to look at. I kind of like the way it looks right here. So I'm going to put one dot of glue on the bottom of each of my strips, and I'm going to hold them down for 10 seconds. Another fun line to create almost looks like a fan. So if I take my strip of paper and I can fold it down toward me, and then I'm going to fold it backwards, and then I'm folding it forward, and then backward, forward, backward, forward, backward, and I'm going to repeat forward and backward all the way down to the end. And when I open it up, it could kind of look like steps or a zigzag line. So now I need to find a good spot on my sculpture to put my zigzag line. And you might need to flip your foot the opposite way before you glue it down. I think this is a good spot for mine. So I'm going to put one dot of glue on the bottom of each foot, and I'm going to hold them for 10 seconds. The last line that I'm going to make is going to end up looking like a swirl. So I'm going to take my pointer finger, my index finger, and I am going to wrap my paper around it as tight as I can. I might need to pinch it with my thumb to keep it in place. So I am wrapping around my finger. After I'm wrapped it around my finger, I'm going to pull it off like a ring. And then I almost want to kind of squeeze it a little bit just to get it to hold its shape before I unwind it. Now this is a swirled line. I need to give it a foot. I can pull my foot forward or I can pull my foot backward depending on where I want to put this. And I want to find a spot on my sculpture to add my swirled line. So I'm going to give it a foot. I'm going to put a dot of glue on the bottom and hold it for 10 seconds. When you're done, you will have created 6 different lines on your sculpture. And the fun part about a sculpture is that depending on which way you view it, which way you look at it, is going to look totally different. If we look at it from one side versus another, or if we look at it hanging up, it's going to look totally different. The last thing that we need to do before we finish our project is you need to decide which part of your sculpture is the top and which part of your sculpture is the bottom. I kind of like the way that my sculpture looks like this. So that means that the bottom right-hand corner is going to have my name and code. So the bottom right, I'm going to use construction paper crayons and I'm going to write my name. So you need to decide which part of your sculpture is the top, which part is the bottom, and put your name in the lower right-hand corner.